Well, let's try this again. The Wi-Fi in the shop was a total bust, and I'm not sure why, but it was completely not working. So, I'm in the house, and starting quite late. I know a few of you are still hanging around, so if you're here, please do hang out and watch the feed. The topic is important. I'm excited to talk about it. And I've got 7 viewers already. Awesome. Thank you guys for hanging out. I know that it's kind of a pain to deal with my lousy Wi-Fi. Believe me, I know. Hello, Greg. Hi, Jerry. So I had some stuff prepped out in the shop for a cool tool tip tonight, but I did not have time to bring it all in the house, so I'm not messing with any of that. Hi, Eric Olson. Welcome back, Chris Williamson. The topic tonight is pricing. Hi, Dean. And I just finished reading this book, How to Sell at Margins Higher Than Your Competitors by Lawrence Steinmetz and William Brooks. It was recommended to me by Michael Gerlich of Raven Concealment Systems. Hey, Stephen Oliveira and Mike Holmes. Hi, Ben Miller. I read it this week. Hi, Tony. And I think it is a very important book for a small holster shop to read and understand. So I'm going to give you a brief outline of some of the important points from this margin book. Not in any particular order. It's not a comprehensive overview. You should still read the book. But there are a few major points that they hammer on over and over and over that I think come up a lot in my conversations with other holster companies. And so here's a few of them. The very first one is market share doesn't matter and volume doesn't matter. What matters is profitability. If you have profits but your volume is low, you can gradually grow and build that business, but if you don't have a profit margin, if you're not making a good margin on the work that you do, more and more and more volume only makes your problem worse because you're doing more and more and more and more work and you have less and less and less time free to make improvements, less and less and less time to innovate, to develop things, to do R&D, to test new products, to incorporate new processes into the shop. And so they spend a lot of the book talking about competition, how you look at your competition, what you think about their prices, who they're selling to, how they're marketing. And one of the major points they keep going after is just because your competition is doing it and seems to be succeeding doing it does not make it a good idea. A really good example is companies that cut prices and get into price wars with their competitors. You can get into a price war with somebody who has more money available to burn than you do, and they can survive the price war longer, even if they're losing money, simply because they have more capital than you have. So just because somebody else in the market is doing something does not mean it's a good idea and does not mean that you can do it safely and not harm or kill your business. If you're a holster maker, I know a lot of you guys are already doing this. Hi, Bill. If you're a holster maker, please post your company name in the comments, and I would appreciate it if you would share the feed because I got off to a late start tonight. I've already probably missed a few people, so I would be especially grateful if tonight you would share the feed and help me get a few of the viewers back, get a few new viewers in here. Because this topic about pricing and competition really isn't holster specific at all. I'm going to talk about it in a holster company context, but it's applicable to any small business. So if you cut your prices, the idea you can lower your prices and make it up on volume is pervasive across the business world, especially in small businesses. A lot of guys think that they're going to come in at a low price, they're going to build their market share, and then gradually raise their prices and get to a point where they're very profitable. And the point he makes is that every time you lower your prices, say your competitor lowers his prices and he's below you, and you think, man, I'm going to lose a lot of sales, I need to lower my prices too to match his. When you lower prices, the amount of additional volume you have to do just to break back even to the revenue you would have had if you hadn't lowered the prices can be really, really significant. a 10 or a 15% discount quickly adds up to a significant increase in volume that you have to make just to break even again, let alone make more money. And so he thinks a lot of companies, the authors think a lot of companies get into pricing situations where they're harming themselves and they're doing it to themselves. Your competitor never cuts your price. You cut your price. You offer sales, you offer discounts, you lower your prices, or you don't raise your prices. If you're a holster company and you're selling at the same prices now as you were 2 years ago, your price is too low. If you're a holster company and you don't consistently have some potential customers complaining about price, your price is too low. If you're a holster company and you never have anybody walk away from a potential sale, because they think your price is too high, then your price is way too low. Hey, Skylar. Hi, Bobby. And so one of the other major premises of the book is people buy for many other reasons besides price, and price is very rarely the main consideration. Hi, Dave Addison. Price is what people say they buy on, and price is what people think they buy on, but price is not actually what people buy on, oftentimes. So he identifies as a business 3 major areas that are kind of up for grabs when you're considering sales. The first one is price, which is the one that will get talked about all the time. Hi, Matthew Bills. The second one is service. How good is your customer service? How well do you resolve problems? How smooth is your website? Is the checkout process secure? Is it streamlined? Do they get order confirmation and shipping confirmation? Like, does all that work? And then the third is delivery. Do you actually deliver the product they ordered, good quality, on time? Are you late? Do you ship a partial order by accident? You forget to pack something they ordered up. You ship an incorrect item. The item doesn't function as it's supposed to. All those factor into where people buy stuff from. And oftentimes, people are willing to spend more for the reliability of getting superior service and superior delivery. In the holster field, there are hundreds of small companies, many of whom make very similar products. It's less the case with the holsters, but things like magazine carriers, it's very hard to differentiate. Well, it's harder to differentiate yourself with a magazine carrier because it's such a simple shape and the function of it is so basic and straightforward that a simple functional design tends to be pretty similar from company to company to company, just because it's purpose-built and that's what it's supposed to do and that's the shape it has to fit. And so, magazine carriers from companies A, B, F, Z all tend to look pretty similar. But you can really differentiate your company on service and on delivery. Hi, John Albertson. And people will value that. If you offered the option for somebody to buy a holster at $70 from you and it would ship next day within 24 hours, or buy a holster from you for $40 and it will take 16 to 24 weeks, do you think most customers would want to save that money by waiting that long? Probably not. They value the delivery time more than they value the money. If they have to have it for something, they need it soon. And so if you think your prices are too high, they're still probably not. If you think your prices are too low, they almost certainly are. If you think that you're going to get huge market share, so let's break down a little bit of quick math. Say you're selling a holster for $50. If you offer $10 off, a 20% discount, or you decide that you're just not seeing the quantity of sales you want, and you think that price point is what's holding people back, and so you lower your price. Say you lower your price $5, you lower it 10%. Matthew, we'll talk about spider concealment in a minute because they're an interesting case study in the holster world. Just because they're doing something and they're getting lots of sales doesn't necessarily make it a good business model. It's not necessarily a bad business model, but the proof is not in the short term of whether or not you're getting increasing sales volume. That's not the test of a successful business model. The test is profitability. The test is margins. Okay? So if you take your $50 holster and you knock $5 off of it, you might say, okay, well, it's a, and it's a $50 holster with free shipping, shipped free. You take $5 off of it and you say, okay, well, every unit I sell, it's costing me an extra, I'm losing $5 in potential sales. Hi Sam, or potential profit. And so if I sell one extra for every 10, I'm right back where I started. How would you go about raising your prices if they are too low? Well, Jordan, you would log into your website as an administrator and you would update the prices. People will complain. Some people may complain, but other people won't. And you just raise them. You just raise them. You may decide where you want to be in terms of pricing a year from now and work up to it in a couple increments. If you have never raised your prices, you've gone years at the same prices, or you find yourself often getting negotiated down by customers who are nickel and diming you. It's called nibbling when they go for a sale, when they go to buy something. Yes, Justin says that good quality, good service, and quick delivery will overcome price objections in manufacturing almost all the time. That's completely true. But back to the $50 holster example. This is one of the places where people get fuzzy with the math because they don't do actual, accurate small business accounting. So if you have a holster that you sell for $50, mine are updating build date. I don't know about yours. If you have a holster you sell for $50, obviously you're not making a $50 profit on that. You have the cost of your plastic, you have the cost of your belt clip, you have the cost of your screws and washers, you have the cost of whatever packaging, retail packaging, a bag, a box, clamshell, whatever you put it in. You have the cost of a padded mailer if you're buying one or using US Postal. You have the cost of shipping if you're including shipping for free. You have the cost of your workspace if you're paying for it or renting it. You have the cost of your electricity. You have the cost of your time. You have the cost of your web store. You have all these other costs that are factored in against the money you bring in from that single holster. So let's just say that, and some guys might object that this number is high, but I'm going to do it just because it's easy and clean. Okay? Say your overall costs between all that overhead and your labor is $25 per unit. And you might say, well, I go way faster than that. My holsters never cost me that much to make. Fine. Humor me. It's an easy math example. So if you have $25 cost of goods between all your overhead, materials, labor, all that, then at a $50 price point, you have a $25 gross margin. That $5 discount you gave, which is only a 10% discount of the retail price, is actually a 20% cut into your profit margin. And the number of holsters you'll have to make up that profit loss is a lot more than 1 in 10. One extra for every 10. If you think about it just as a whole number, it's like, okay, well, I took $5 off of 50. If I sell 10 holsters, I will have given away $50 in discount. I make 1 extra on top of that. I make all my money back. That's wrong because you're counting that last holster as 100% profit, even though it's not. And so if you actually do the math, the amount of work you have to do and the amount of increased volume you have to push just to get back to where you were really adds up. I know a lot of guys do seasonal sales. I typically don't. And the reason I don't is I don't have an interest in working a lot harder to make the same amount of money. And you might say, well, don't you do a lot of wholesaling? Aren't there steep discounts involved in wholesaling? Yes, there are. But there are also typically there are lower labor costs, and there are other benefits that come back and weigh that out. So if I'm doing a run of 100 holsters for a wholesaler, I can drive my labor costs to an absolute minimum by batching 100 holsters and going through them very, very quickly and consistently, CNC mold, CNC trimming, buff them all in a batch, fold them all at one big step, assemble them all, and then package them up and ship them. And I've got one shipping cost. I've got the most efficient possible production. I have 100 identical holsters, no variations in color or material. It's like, they're just all the same. And so even though I'm giving a discount, I have ways of driving my cost of goods down, because profitability really isn't about price, it's about margin. And when guys talk about price, or think about price, or give discounts to try to attract customers because they're concerned the customers are scared away by their high price, I think a lot of these holster companies are not actually looking carefully at their margin. Margin is where the thing is, where the business grows or fails. So if you were doing 1,000 holsters a month, but your margins were bad, you will be absolutely exhausted by cranking out that number of parts, that number of holsters, and you won't have nearly enough money to show for it at the end. So if you were charging $45 for a holster versus $70 for a holster, and it's the same holster, your gross profit margin is much larger on the $70 holster, because your cost of goods is fixed. $25 here, $25 there. If you have a $50 holster and a $70 holster, that $25 cost of goods, or a $75 holster, that cost of goods is a 50% cost in the first product and a 33.5% cost, 33 and a third, 30% cost roughly in the second one, which means that you're getting $25 more gross profit for the item that's only priced 50% higher. I feel like I was going to do some visuals. I had a whiteboard out in the shop. I didn't bring any of that inside because I was in a hustle to get the feedback up. So you can make more money and spend less time doing it if you price higher. Very straightforward. If you price higher, you also have the opportunity, you also have more opportunity to really invest time in improving your customer service, keeping your website functioning seamlessly, and shipping promptly. Okay? Customers are willing to pay a lot of money for convenience. They're willing to pay a lot of money for convenience. I know some guys don't ever offer a rush option, and some guys offer like if you need this week, it's an extra $25. Fine. Like that's a way to let customers give you money if they value their time that much. But don't beat yourself up doing way more work for less money, or for the same amount of money. If I had the option of selling holsters for $75 or selling them for $25, and I needed to make $750 in a day, it'll be easier to sell the holsters at $25, but I'm going to have to make 3 times as many in order to hit my number. And if I have to make $750 in profit, my fixed costs, like the cost of my plastic, is not going to get way cheaper if I buy enough to make 30 holsters versus buying enough plastic to make 20 holsters. What does one consider a fair margin, especially when wholesaling? So it's not so much primarily about a percentages game, although you have to look at the math and percentages are important. If you're wholesaling, generally a 25 to 30% discount is standard. If you go deeper than that, you're being extremely generous and you're leaving money on the table. And if people you try to hold, if you walk out of every gun store that you walked into with a wholesale order, and the owner of that gun store, no gun store owner ever objected to your price and said that your wholesale price was too high, you're an idiot and your price is way too low. Hi, Troy. Let me say that again. If you don't ever have a gun store owner that you try to get to wholesale your stuff, if you never have a gun store owner tell you your wholesale price is too high and then not carry your product, if you never lose a sale for that reason, you're an idiot and your price is too low. If you find customers never ever complain about your price, or like if people are discussing you on a forum and nobody ever pipes up like, yeah, you know, for what they are, like you can get the same thing for $20 on eBay. If nobody ever says that and nobody ever says your price is too high, then your price is too low. Matthew Bills, 25 to 30% is pretty standard for wholesale discounts. But if your retail price is too low and your wholesale price is 30% below that, then your wholesale price is also too low. Be willing to let the market say no. If you raise your price, very often you'll find that your sales diminish very little or not at all. Hey, Bobby Jackson, if $15 is your wholesale price, I think you're making a really big mistake. I'll be very honest. I think that you and Chris are making a foolish business decision to price your wholesale product that low. You're gaining market share, but it just doesn't make sense to me. But you do you. It's your business. Feel better. We do a tiered volume discount and right in that range for volume. 25% off. Yeah. But you should have people sometimes saying that your price is too high. Matthew Bills commented on nickel and dimers, eBay customers. There are price buyers, people who only care about price. They don't care about quality. They don't care about delivery. They only care about price. Guess what? You can't afford to do business with those people. Mike says, if you price a holster for $70 and can't sell said holster for $70, you're not making any money. That's true, Mike. Obviously, it is possible for a holster to be priced too high. Chris, I was sure you were selling $12 holsters. I haven't paid attention, Spider, to what your actual sale numbers are like. I don't know. Your sale prices are like. But Mike, if you have a holster for $70 and you can't sell any of them, then maybe your price is too high. So yeah, Bobby and Chris, I don't know what your price numbers are. I do know you've been aggressively pricing pretty low. And I'm watching to see how it goes for you. But back to Mike's point earlier, if you actually sell holsters at a $70 price point, $45 to $60 black, says Chris. Solid price point. You don't need to make nearly as many to make the money you need to make. You have to be comfortable with your own prices. You have to be convinced in your mind that you offer a good value. It's not about price, it's about value. You offer a good value for the price you're charging. That what you offer in terms of service and what you offer for delivery is a very fair value. And value is subjective. There is no way to crunch this in a calculator and prove to a customer who objects to your price that actually you offer a great value. People might not value your product the same way you do. That's fine. But a lot of us are very small companies. not a single one of the holster companies that watches my feed controls even 1% of the holster market in the United States. And so, should you be surprised to have lots and lots and lots of people come to your website and not buy? Say you controlled 10% of the market. Would you be surprised if 90% of the visitors who came to your site bought? I would be surprised. That would be weird. If you really had 10% of the market, but you were getting like 90% of the sales that you had direct contact for, something would be weird about that. So I'm just going to open this book and talk about a few specific things. Hey, Shane Muse, thank you for joining. Market share is small in the holster world. If you're getting backed up on orders, lots of businesses go out of business at a time of reduced prices and increasing sales volumes, because this is very often a way that companies try to get back from the danger edge. They feel like their sales numbers are dropping, their cash flow is in trouble, and so they think we need to generate more sales. To generate more sales, we're going to lower our price. We're going to bring in a whole bunch of new customers. Hey, Brent. Hello, Matt Francis. We're going to bring in a whole bunch of new customers, and that's how we'll make our money back. But what can happen is you get in this vicious cycle where you lower your price, so your margin is lower, you're making less money per unit. You push that coupon code sale, whatever it is you're doing, out there, and you do get a whole bunch of new sales. Well, you jump from having no backlog to all of a sudden, like, you get so many orders in the first week that you can't possibly fill them all in time. So what just happened is your delivery schedule just got punched out. And if you're scrambling for production because you're just backed up on orders, you're also going to end up cutting corners on service. So you have website problems. You don't have time for that. Or you've got customers emailing you. You don't have time for that. Or you do take time for it and you fall progressively further and further and further and further behind on production and delivery because you're so swamped. Well, what happens if you get 10 weeks behind or you get 4 weeks behind? Say you advertised 1 week and you're 4 weeks behind and you're just scrambling and you're drowning, and then customers start disputing their credit card charges. That eats up more of your time, takes money back out of your pocket, and you lose money on fees, and stuff just gets totally jacked up. Especially those who drop with tech lock from 27 shipped. Do you recommend marking the price of 30? I'm not quite sure what you're asking, Chase. I can't see the rest of your comment. Let me see real quick. Sales can damage your price integrity, like Keith Freeman says. I don't do seasonal sales really. I don't really do a Christmas sale. Occasionally, I'll do a coupon code for Black Friday. Like, I usually do 1, maybe 2 very short sales each year, and only if I'm feeling like it, and only if my schedule's open enough that I had time in advance to pump out some extra inventory. I don't do sales with the goal of getting a whole bunch of new custom orders and then burning myself through a backlog through November and through December into January. I know a lot of you guys have done that, and I've seen the misery on your faces, and I've heard the misery in your voices. If you did a big Black Friday sale and you ended up underwater with orders that were not especially profitable, that were custom and hassle, and then it took you 6 to 8 weeks to get back to where you had been in terms of lead time and quality of delivery, it's brutal, and the amount of money you made at the end of it was not worth it. Running frequent sales trains your customers to wait for everything to go on sale. They never pay full price, and you have a bunch of nickel and dimers. So price customers, eBay customers, they are customers you can't afford to do business with. First of all, there are plenty of customers who resent the idea that you would actually make any profit on them. Their idea of getting a good deal is making sure that you make no money on them. If you were a turnip, they'd squeeze the blood out of you. And so no matter what deal you give them, the person is always going to think that you're still being greedy. Like, this is Omega Holsters, the guy who sent him that email explaining how he calculated up all the costs and then thought that Nate should be selling a holster for like $27 or something. That customer you can't afford to do business with. Price buyers have no loyalty. If you give them a great price and then when they need their next holster, somebody gives them a slightly better price, like $1 less, they'll go to that other person right away. So those customers will be your most complaining customers, your most emailing customers, your most unreasonable, you're most likely to flame you on social media. Those customers who want to beat you up and beat you up and beat you up on price are hands down the worst customers. You don't want them anyway. And if your price is low enough to attract them in the first place, you're doing it to yourself. Jason says, yes, there's the cost of initial customer acquisition. That's true. But Jason, what I see is oftentimes companies trying to buy a large customer base by selling at a low margin. And if you gain those customers by appealing to their low price desire, you're probably getting the customers you don't want. And if you raise your prices back up to where they should be, you'll probably lose a lot of those customers. I had a guy contact me through Facebook, and he had I wanted a custom holster, and it wasn't especially wild. And this was back when I was still doing some custom work. And so I quoted him a price. It was going to be about $85. And he messaged me back, and he's like, oh man, that sounds great. Those are all the specs I want. Do you have anything like in the $40 range that would do the same thing? I'm like, nope. Thanks. Have a good day. I don't. There's nothing I make for that gun light combo that's $40. I just don't make it. Those price point buyers are customers you want to avoid. They're the most unreasonable customers. You can't make them happy. Even if you provide exemplary service, even if you provide fantastic delivery and a great product, they're not going to be very happy, and they're always going to want any future product at the same price. You raise your price, and a year later they come back, and they want you to honor the old price. Like, hey man, I bought a holster from you last June, and it was only $38, and now it's like $46. Can I get that $8 back off? And you're like, seriously? And this is the other thing. People will say, oh, I can get the same thing for less. I can get the same thing from somebody else for half that price. First of all, no, you can't. Second of all, if you could, you should. If somebody's complaining to you that they can get the exact same thing for less money, if it's true, why aren't they doing it? Why are they wasting their time trying to negotiate with you? Why are they trying to negotiate with you if they could go right now and get the thing they want for a lot less money? Here's the reality. They may be able to get a holster for a lot less, but they won't get your service, they won't get your quality, and they won't get your delivery. What they want is your service, your quality, your delivery, but the eBay guy's price. It doesn't work like that. If you pay the eBay guy's price, holsterman.net, you get the eBay guy's quality, you get his service, and you get his delivery. And so to say I can get the same thing for a lot less money is like, well, yeah, you can go to Walmart and buy a tube sock and stuff your gun in it. It's a holster, I guess. But if people want your service and they want your delivery and they want your quality, they pay your price. Simple as that. They may even be able to get a similar item. Say you're selling an inside the waistband holster with a strut and a loop, and yours is $65. And they say, I can get the same holster with a strut and a loop for $30. The fact that they're talking to you about it and not just going and buying it means something else is up. They're trying to get you to lower your price, or they're lying about what they can actually get someplace else, or exaggerating, bending the truth, negotiating with you. But it's pretty common that customers, if they're trying to haggle on price, it's not at all uncommon for them to simply make stuff up. And so, say if I was buying a car, if I went to a dealership and the guy, there's a particular car I looked for and the guy said it quoted me $30,000 for it. And I'm like, well, I don't know why that's $30. I can go to the dealership down the street and get the exact same truck for $20,000. And I'm at a Chevy dealership, and the dealership down the street is a Ford dealership. Can I get the exact same truck down the street for $20,000? No. I can get a similar truck. I can get a truck of similar weight, similar size engine, similar size bed, similar number of seats, but I can't get the same truck. It's like somebody looking at a premium AR versus a budget AR. They're like, well, I don't understand why this American Defense Manufacturing one is $1,700. I can get the same AR for $650 at my local gun store. And you're like, okay, what is it? And they're like, well, it's a Smith & Wesson Sport. So no forward assist, cheapest possible components, nothing is mil spec. You're like, okay, how's the warranty? How are the quality of parts? Like, you can get a similar thing for a lot less money oftentimes. But there's a reason why there's the price difference. It can be quality, it can be warranty, it can be delivery, it can be aftermarket service. If somebody buys it, needs replacement parts, those things go a long way. And you, in your materials, on your website, in your conversations, have to be able to sell those differences that distinguish your price from the eBay dude who's selling a hot mess for $35 or $30. And so, customers will say that they only buy on price. The only thing that matters is price. What's your lowest price? Expect to lose some sales. If you never lose any sale, if you bend and bend and bend and bend, or knuckle under and crack, and you get every sale you try to get, come hell or high water, you're hurting yourself. And so you have to know, completely convinced that you offer a great value at the price you're charging, and you should probably charge higher. But try it. Like, if you try a higher price and your sales volume dries up, guess what? You can put it back down. But if you keep your price where it is because you're afraid that if you go higher, it'll be too high, you'll never find out whether or not it would have worked. Try it. So if somebody says they only care about price, their biggest concern is, that it's the lowest possible price. First, ask what gun they're carrying. Is it the cheapest possible firearm they could have bought? Probably not. Ask what shoes they wear. Ask what kind of coat they have. Ask about all other kinds of consumer goods and then think, or ask them, is this the cheapest possible one you could have bought? If you're carrying a Glock or an M&P or a Taurus or a car, is it the cheapest possible handgun you could have bought? No. If you're carrying a SIG or an HK and you're complaining about holster price, you're not being real. You're not being consistent. Yeah, just be willing to say no, says Mike. Yeah, it's helped you say no? Mike, I'm really glad to hear that. Be willing to say no. You don't have to bend over backwards to get every possible sale. You should expect, this is a price check. You need to know if your prices are reasonable. And one way to do it is pitch the price, and if you never lose sales because of price, your price is just too low. If I had a certain amount of money I needed to make per month, and I could set a low price and hit that profit number by making 300 holsters a month, or I could set a higher price and need fewer sales and hit that same number with half as many holsters completed, which one leaves me more time to provide excellent customer service, to upgrade my shop, to develop new products, to go out and do good marketing? What's the benefit to me of doing more work at a lower margin just to have a larger number of sales orders? It doesn't do me any good at all. I would rather do fewer sales and have them be more profitable and free up more of my time to develop and improve my business than to spend all my time grinding on the hamster wheel, just like all day, every day, going like this, because my price is so low that I've got sales and sales and sales and sales. If you're too busy to make improvements in your business, or there's new equipment you want to buy that's not outrageously expensive, like, if you need to buy a new vacuum pump, it's a couple $100 and you don't have the money for it, but you're selling a lot of holsters, something is totally wrong. Like, if you need to buy a new gun for the holster company and you don't have a lot of money for it, but you're doing a lot of sales, something is wrong. Your margin is wrong. Something's off. So be willing to say no, be willing to lose some sales, be willing to have the market say no to you, be willing to have people say your price is too high. That's fine. Going deep instead of wide is stuck with me, says Mike. No more one mold for one holster and the mold sits for 6 months. Yeah, be done with that. Nobody's got time for that baloney, Mike. So anybody can go broke in business. And this pattern I mentioned earlier, they lay it out in the first chapter of the book. Typically, 2 of the 3 factors that are involved when a business goes out, they typically have a declining margin. They've lowered prices. Dude, Brian Waterman's here. My cousin Brian's in. Hey, dude. And they usually go out of business at a time of increasing sales volume. The lower margin, the lower price, usually means that their sales pick up, but they can't service those sales effectively, and so they end up just, blowing up. So the business is always a question of margins, not price and not volume. The classic joke is the guy is 2 guys are in southern part of the U.S. They hear that watermelons are $1 a piece in Mexico. They go down to Mexico with a pickup truck. They buy all the watermelons they can fit, and they bring them back up to Texas and start selling them for $10 for a dozen watermelons. Hello, Rachel Miller. And at the end of the day, they're like, man, we didn't make quite as much money as we started with. I guess we need a bigger truck. It's the classic business person's joke that they don't understand their margin problem. If you're not making money on the units you sell, it doesn't matter how many of them you sell. Nobody stays in business on volume alone. You've got to have profit margins. So people don't actually buy on price as much as they think they do. Your competitive advantage is very rarely going to be your price. It can be custom prints you have available. It can be the specific design of your holster. It can be your turnaround time. It can be your local availability. It can be your civic commitment to support charities and fire departments and police departments in your region. It could be your experience as a USPSA or IDPA shooter that informs the design choices and hardware you use. It could be all kinds of things separate from price. The total package of your product is about way more than just the price of your product. Take care of your customers. Somebody earlier asked about what about giveaways for like social media marketing, okay? Giveaways are completely different. I don't consider holsters I give away to be a sale. I consider them to be a marketing expense. Obviously, marketing expenses are expenses. If I send out holsters for testing and evaluation, or I send out free holsters to people who I expect, I have negotiated exposure from, then that's not a sale. It's a marketing cost. And so those are in completely different baskets. I don't have a deep middle discount gear. Like either somebody pays full price for what I sell, or I give it to them. I don't have a friends and family get 50% off kind of thing. I mean, for family, I give it to them usually. Set a budget for free holsters like any other ad expense. Like if you were going to spend $50 a month on Facebook ads, you could also spend, say, I'm going to spend the equivalent of X number of dollars of retail value of gear per month. Jessica Hazard says, I just did a giveaway. 2 worst headache customers I've ever dealt with. It was crazy. I'm sorry to hear that. Giveaways tend to bring out the absolute bottom feeding customers. It's just a reality. If you're giving away free stuff, if you go to somebody's page and like 60% of their Instagram posts are, repost this to be entered into our giveaway, they're absolute scum suckers. You don't want them following your page even. You don't want exposure to those people. So I don't give away gear to people who ask me for gear. I give away gear to people who I select and approach with an offer of free gear, because I want to be able to pick what I'm looking for, who it is, and proactively bring it to their attention. I'm not interested, and you guys have all gotten emails from like the same dude who copy pastes the same email to like 40 holster makers in one day, and we all end up like sending a text back and forth like, hey, did you get an email from Mark Cheapskate? And like, oh yeah, Mark Cheapskate emailed me too. Hello, Alan. So figure out how to differentiate your company, your product, based on its service, on its delivery, and any other distinctives that you have. Those are how you get all the way around price objections. If you have generic items that you can give into some other giveaway, like say you contribute a magazine carrier or something to some third party who's doing the giveaway on their page and people also have to like follow you, that can work. But if you do the giveaway yourself, it's just a hassle. Yeah. I mean, you're in charge of your business. You can give gear to whoever you want. Be strategic, but be generous. Like, I'm much, much more interested in giving gear to appreciative, thankful, generous, genuine people that I pick than I am in offering a 10% discount to every person who's ever been a police officer or has served in the military or has been a volunteer firefighter or a paramedic. Okay? I appreciate first responders. Mark, it's my middle name, so I picked on it. So find those ways to differentiate yourself. I highly recommend this book. It was a great read for me. How to Sell at Margins Higher Than Your Competitors. Winning Every Sale at Full Price, Rate, or Fee by Lawrence Steinmetz and William Brooks. Now, a lot of the stuff in this book is really about full-time salespeople doing business-to-business sales, and it really isn't about e-commerce. Although a lot of the same principles carry over, but a lot of it is how to deal personally with customers you're talking to, who you're quoting a part for or quoting a product for, and they're objecting based on price, and understanding how you steer that conversation around to the distinctives that justify the value proposition of your product at its current price. They talk about different ways that customers try to blackmail you, things customers actually care about versus the things they say they care about. Here's the cover, but it's all reversed because I'm using the FaceTime camera. So, red, yellow, and orange. I got mine off Amazon, used, not very expensive. Your competitors can make a lot of stupid mistakes. And I've seen plenty of holster companies go out of business, and I can't even always think of them off the top of my head because I don't give them a second thought. There are a lot of companies that were around 5 years ago that are not around anymore. And think about this. If you are trying to do holsters as a business and you are competing, trying to price compete with a guy who does holsters as a hobby and is not trying to make money doing it, you are shooting yourself in the head by getting into a price battle with that dude. If you've got somebody who makes a small volume of holsters and is mostly doing it for fun and isn't concerned about making money on it, like I know plenty of guys who make holsters for beer and ammo money. That's totally cool. I'm going to use my holster money to buy a house. I'm going to use my holster money to buy my holster bunny. I'm going to use my holster money to buy hundreds of thousands of dollars more worth of CNC machinery. I'm going to use my holster money to pay employees. I'm going to use my holster money to do real business stuff. I'm not using my holster money to go out and buy dirt bikes. I have nothing against dirt bikes, but I'm not in this for kicks. I'm in it as a business. And that totally changes the way that I think about what I'm doing. But the holster market is flooded with dudes who are presenting themselves like a business, but actually operating as a hobby. And you can't afford to pay any attention to those guys. Don't pay attention to their prices. Don't pay attention to their marketing. Don't pay attention to their products because they're not in business. You're not competing with them. Okay? And here's the other thing. The guys who are selling at those super low prices are performing an unbelievably, holster bunny. They're providing an unbelievably valuable public service to me, which is they are hoovering up all the really, really, really lousy price point customers. Like, I'm glad that there are dudes on eBay selling absolute garbage because the guys who want absolute garbage for $30 are going there and are not blowing up my email inbox. They're not blowing up my DMs on Instagram with requests for a fully customized $30 holster. Okay? And so in one sense, yes, I want to raise the bar. I'm putting out free info. I'm trying to share as much knowledge as I can to raise the quality standard of the small holster industry as high as it can go. I want to see poorly run companies going out of business because they deserve to, because they're making bad decisions, because they're being foolish, because they're not respecting the market. But I don't ever want to try to get rid of every Joe Schmo who's making garbage and selling it on eBay, because those guys do me a service by keeping all the customers I don't want far away from me. But if you find yourself consistently dealing with customers you don't want, raise your price. Just do it. And you'll find that a lot of the really kind of pain in the neck customers self-select out if your price is higher. The other thing is price affects the psychology of how a person values the experience and the product. People tend to perceive higher priced alternatives as higher quality. And generally, people will agree, generally, you get what you pay for. A $10,000 car and a $60,000 car are not equal. Jason, I'm not saying sales codes are always bad, but if your primary way of trying to differentiate your company is by offering low prices, then I think the kinds of customers you will primarily attract are customers who value price too highly, and those will tend to be problematic customers. So what I'm seeing, Josh, is that less than 10% of people who buy from you at sale come back and buy at full price. That's not a non-existent percentage, but, you know, all I'm saying, Jason, you have to figure out where your prices should be. And you can offer a fuller featured or a more simple holster. You can offer lots of attachment options or not. You can offer premium plastics, printed, carbons, Kryptex or not. And there's lots of room for different pricing tiers. But if you think that the way you're going to build your business successfully is trying to consistently be the guy who's the cheapest price, you're stupid and you're going to go out of business. Would it be pricing if we all raise our prices 10% tomorrow? No, John, I haven't colluded with anybody on price. And really, considering the number of guys who watch this holster feed, if everybody who watched this feed tonight raised their prices 10% tomorrow, the collective holster industry would yawn. Because we're such a small slice of what's out there in terms of companies. Here's a company I used to laugh in my sleeve at. Griffin Industries. Now, we're not going to get started about who actually makes Griffin holsters and where they come from and Caliban cloak and all that. None of that. But when they were selling an outside the waistband light-bearing holster for $150 or $160 on their website, people thought they were insane. Well, guess what? If they sold less than half as many holsters as their competitors at that price, they're still making more money. You know, because that holster is the same amount of plastic and the same amount of labor to assemble as the light-bearing holster that I at that time was selling for $70, less than half their price. And so to get to $150 in sales, I have to sell 2 holsters, double the labor cost, double the material cost, way lower profit, you know. Like, heck, I might raise my prices tomorrow. Maybe I'll take my own. I'm due for a price increase. I raised my mold prices in January. That was overdue. I was getting to a point where I had more demand than I could reasonably service. I had a lot of guys asking about custom molds, and one of the ways, you know, if I signaled to people that the price that I sent out wasn't actually the real price. Like if I'm like, oh, okay, this is the list price. Like pricing in a lot of businesses is really, really jacked up because everybody understands that the sticker price is never the real price. There are plenty of stores where you go to and the sticker price is it. Like that's it. You pay the sticker price or you don't. There are plenty of other industries like cars, you know, car sales, where almost nobody ever pays the sticker price. Everybody knows the sticker price is total baloney because the ads from the car dealership say, you know, no reasonable offer will be refused. We need to clear off this lot. End of the year, we're overstocked, you know, and we have to sell. Well, if you are telling the customers up front that the price is negotiable, guess what? All the customers are going to fight for a lower price, and they're going to fight really aggressively for a lower price. MSRPs, where the product never, ever actually gets sold at MSRP, yes, there's sales psychology. Yes, people like to buy things on sale. You know, like I have a friend who works in the furniture industry, and their furniture businesses are horrible about this. Like, everything on the floor is always 40% off. And that's not exactly actually true, but like that's the basic feel. Everything is always 40% off. The stuff is never not on sale. Which means that the list price, the MSRP price, is completely made up just so they have a fictitious high number to offer you a deep discount against. And it's not real. Like, if you put on your website that, you know, there was a list price that was crossed out, and then in red underneath it was like a, you know, sale price for every single holster. Like, your inside the waistband holsters were listed for $99, on sale now for $62.95. You might get people to buy, feeling like, oh wow, I'm getting a really great deal. Look at all that money I'm getting off. But for me, I wouldn't do that. I consider it dishonest. Brent says, yeah, car salesmen get beat up on price because most car dealerships' advertising primarily consists of inviting potential customers to come to the car lot and beat up the salespeople on price. That's what the car ads on the radio tell you. You know, if you come and beat us up, we will give you a lower price. And then, surprisingly, people come and beat them up. When I buy equipment, I almost never, ever buy the cheapest possible thing. Because I know I get what I pay for. Yes, Rachel Miller, it's also a big deal in clothing. Very, very, very common to have an artificial MSRP, an artificial real price. You know, normally $200, now $25. You're like, wow, I'm saving $175. But the item's never actually at full sticker price. So, you know, a lot of the stuff I've just been talking about with car dealerships and things, it's all straight out of this book. You should read the book. Well worth it. Took me 2 days to read it. It's not real complicated. I'm going to chew on it and reread it because there's a lot of stuff in there. But I'm confident that many, many companies in the holster field could do well to raise their prices, and they would be more successful, more profitable, and they would actually see their sales volume increase. Because customers who are looking for a premium product, if I'm looking for a really good quality holster and I'm looking at 3 companies, one priced at 90, one priced at 70, and one priced at 45, I'm probably going to think, well, there must be some reason why the $45 one is half the price. It's probably not as good. And that kind of psychology is real too. People, if they want a premium kind of item, expect to pay a premium price for it. Saw a Black Friday sale that added $120 to the price of a tablet from the week before, then offered $100 off for the sale. How do you feel about outsourcing basic labor? I'm still a one-person operation. I'm past the point where I have entirely too many orders to pump them out in a decent time frame to me. I don't have a problem with outsourcing labor. I take a lot of outsourced stuff from other shops. A lot of people pay me to do work for them. I do a lot of OEMing and private labeling. That's fine. I have no problem with it at all. When you get into processes that are primarily conducted by machinery, automation, it doesn't really matter who's pressing the button. Doesn't matter. Could be me, could be you, could be my 6-year-old daughter. The machine doesn't care. And the machine's going to do the same job the same way no matter who pressed the start button. So, you know, some companies try to differentiate themselves like, you know, every single holster is handmade with love. Great. Is it handmade quickly? Can I get it shipped tomorrow? Is it made on a rigorously tested and verified CNC machined mold that's dead on and provides beautiful feel and consistently clean, you know, really, really slick feel and fit and good firm retention? Maybe, maybe not, but it's made with love. Well, people don't typically pay a lot of money for love when it comes to consumer products. So that's about the end of it tonight for me. I'm going to finish reading Lean for Dummies this next week and talk about that because there are some interesting things related to batching processes versus continuous flow process. Lean is almost all about continuous flow kinds of work processes. But I realize as I've been reading Lean for Dummies that one of the things that Lean emphasizes is something that I've been trying to work on in my business for a long period of time, but I'd never really put a name on. And one of the major premises of Lean is the goal of Lean is to produce gradual, incremental, continuous improvement in the business. Improvement of the value being offered to the end customer. The improvement could be better quality parts. The improvement could be even shorter delivery times. The improvement could be even lower prices. The improvement could be even better options. There are all kinds of improvements, but you want everybody in the business, from the boss on down, all fully invested in recognizing and developing small solutions that incrementally improve the overall quality of the business, of the product, and of the value the end consumer gets. Yeah, Michael Hallam, you are way, way late. I don't know if you guys can hear me. I'm getting over a pretty vicious head cold that had me knocked out for a day and a half this week because my sinuses were all messed up. But I'm back out in the shop now. I'll be back out in the shop all day tomorrow, cranking out molds. Thank you guys who are waiting for molds. Thank you for your patience. So yeah, as a small business owner, you should be reading books and listening to podcasts about business because there are lots and lots of people who know way more about business than you do, and they're willing to tell you about it. And the amount of money, I spent on this one book, one holster sale pays for this book, plus some. Pipes and cigars are good for a cold. Yes, Matthew Bills, shells too. I got to get some molds shipped tomorrow and then make shells. So thank you guys very much. As usual, I will go through and answer any questions I didn't get to in the actual feed. I will answer them in the comments. Thank you guys. Have a great night. I'm hoping to do another live feed. Today's Thursday. I'm hoping to do another one on Saturday. So stay tuned for that. Good night.